Thank you all for coming. To start off with, can you all stick your hands up, whoever's actually a developer, whoever actually writes code when they're building websites, even if it's occasionally? Good, good. You guys came to the right place. The rest of you, please stick around and I'll try and make it interesting. Okay? What I've got here is a little slice out of a talk that I've written, and like I always do when I start to write a presentation, I always do way too much, heaps too much. So what the material that I've actually got is basically a half-day seminar, which I can fill out to a full-day seminar with some practical training, some hands-on examples that people can work on their own machines. And I'm thinking of offering this sort of material on that basis as a half-day introduction to application development in Joomla, or as a full day we actually do the skills development in the second half. But we'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be some interest in that or maybe not. But the good news is we've got about 3/4 of an hour today, so I'm not going to take you through all the boring stuff. I'm just going to focus on the application, show you what it will do in a Joomla context, show you how it fits into the Joomla 3 framework in particular, and show you what Chronoforms does as a tool. So what I've built is a finished site in Joomla 3, and I've taken an application that I built for a customer about a year ago and I've redeveloped that for Joomla 3. Okay, now if you actually want to run this in Joomla 3, and I'm providing the sample code files as well, okay, so anybody who wants to can download the presentations, can also download the sample code, and the sample code package includes a README file which will actually take you through the installation of the sample application in your own site. You can look at the code for yourself, you can pull it apart, play with it, run it. Okay, it'll work in a local development environment. That's if you feel like it. Other than that, the full presentations are also available, and a sample file that you can upload during one of the steps that you will see in the application. Okay, so I'm going to pull down the demonstration file direct from the site, and you see here the URL for the application. That's part of the demo slides. Okay, you can go here now, you can run the thing for yourself, you can download the presentations or the sample code, do whatever you like. Okay, so I'll run the presentation directly from there, but not the whole thing, just around about 2/3 of it. Okay, so that's our topic. There's this agenda, and basically the workshop is designed to go through every stage of the development cycle, as I've got it customised, as I've got it built out for using Joomla as a development framework. But we're not going to do all that stuff. Okay? To begin with, these are the basic elements of a business application. Okay? Business apps are built out of forms and views, primarily. A form is a form like your registration form or your car registration form or birth certificate or whatever. You fill in some fields. There's a product called Chronoforms which does that. There are other form builders on Joomla, other tools that you can use to build forms for business apps or contact pages or simple things like that. Chronoforms is the Chrono Engine product that builds forms. Okay? Views is a view of existing data in a table. It's organised in a sequence or maybe subsetted or maybe transformed in some way. It presents a useful form of report or an inquiry for business people. Give me a list of all the car registrations in the last 3 weeks. okay, or the list of all the registrations from Western Melbourne suburbs, that type of thing. There's a product called Chronoconnectivity in the range that primarily builds views. Now, the other elements of business applications are workflow. Workflow is an essential feature of what a business application does. There's two flavours of that. One is mail, that an application sends mail to people or to other kinds of objects, other kinds of entities in the system that should respond to that mail, that get told about an action that's required or something that needs to be done. Okay? Chronoforms sends mail. It has actions that do that. And the other element is state. We have a record, which is a transaction, like, say, maybe an account record or something like that, and it is in a particular state. Okay, like active, suspended, deleted, in dispute, that type of thing. Okay, both chronoforms and connectivity either change state or they're sensitive to state. So those are the elements of what business apps do. This is a product range in Chronoforms, Chrono Engine product range. Chronoforms builds chainable CRUD forms, create, read, update, delete forms, for any data, not just tables that have been constructed to work with Chronoforms forms. Chronoforms can read and write any data, not only in the Joomla database that belongs to that system, but any other MySQL database, anywhere in the world, okay, from the one form. By chainable, I mean that one form can call another form or can make a selection of a bunch of other forms to call, okay, and keep on chaining right through an entire process. Chronoforms provides a set of simple form controls and one custom control where you can write any code whatsoever that you want. And it provides a rich set of actions. And actions are actions that execute when a form is being processed, when it's being loaded, or based on some other event that might occur. Now, this is not making a lot of sense right now, I know that, but you'll see it in a minute. Chronoconnectivity builds views of any data. Any data in the Joomla database, that's the Joomla system that's hosting Chronoforms and Chronoconnectivity, or any other MySQL database that that particular server can reach somewhere in the world. Okay, and in the one Chronoconnectivity object, you get both front-end and back-end views. Okay, so you get a view that you can see in the administrator console, which is customised for what an administrator cares about for that data, and you get a view that you can hook up in a menu item on the front end. Okay, and that's a view that is available to users for some purpose. There's a couple of other products there. Okay, they're not particularly important from our point of view, but there they are. So I'm going to focus on Chronoforms, and this is the last dirty big slide I'm going to inflict on you. Chronoforms basically works on a drag and drop sort of basis. Okay, you build up a form by dragging elements onto it. And the same with the actions that get run, that get executed behind the form. You drag actions onto a workspace, if you like. You drag them from a palette onto a workspace, and then you configure those actions individually so that they refer to the particular objects, the fields, okay, the other entities that you want to be affected, that they apply the conditions that you want to apply. It has wizards, a basic set of configurable input elements, but a very extensive set of configurable form actions. And this is one important point. Okay, unlike other content development kits for Joomla, things like K2 and Fabric and C-Blood and those types of things, a Chronoforms form does not have to have a UI. You do not actually have to build a form and put any fields on it. You can build a form that has a set of actions at the back end, and when you call that form, it'll execute those actions. And as you'll see, that's very powerful. Okay? It means that you can build a form that does nothing but send an email distribution, or does nothing but an AJAX call to something or other, or a web service call. And you call it with a URL to your Joomla site, and it does what you want it to do without showing the user anything. Okay? So this can be very powerful. You can have something on a website, on your website, which wants to execute, say, 3 emails based on certain conditions, and a web service call to another machine somewhere else in the world. Okay? And there's a URL that you execute from a menu item, or from an article link, or from a module somewhere on your site. You call that Chronoform, and invisibly all of that happens. Okay, so this effectively means that Joomla applications can do anything that any enterprise application can do. Okay, and this is unique. So far as I know, Chronoforms is the only builder, if you like, the only programmable builder that does this. Okay, it suits back-end developers. It suits people who are happy to write code. Okay, and if you have a problem with that, okay, then you're not going to be able to realise the full power of the tool. Okay, but you'll be able to get a lot done in terms of form processing, but basically to get the best out of it, to develop the full power of applications, you need to be comfortable writing some code at the back end. Now, the developer is a guy called Max. I don't know his last name. Nobody does, as far as I know. He's very shy and retiring. He uses the handle Chronoman, and the products are supported by Max and another guy called Bob Jones, who lives in the regions of France, in the northern regions. Bob Jones is the author of a book on version 3 of Chronoforms, and he's also the author of a number of custom actions and tutorials, some of which I use. Some of them are very helpful. Okay, we'll skip all this stuff. This is about the application. The application is built for a make-believe company called CF Demo. And this is their org chart. Okay? The application is an application that allows staff at this company to apply for leave. Annual leave, sick leave, long service leave, and bereavement leave. Okay? And this was built for a real company. So it's a national company which has, as far as I know, showrooms in 3 states, and around about 300 or 400 staff spread around the company. And before this application existed, they had to fill out manual forms and post them around the country in order to apply for leave. And basically it was a process. It took on average around about 4 or 5 days for somebody to apply for leave and then get the approval. Okay, because it had to go through a number of steps and, checks and balances and so forth. Now it takes 30 seconds. Okay? So this is, I've redeveloped this app and wrapped it around the sample company so that we can demonstrate it, without using the real names and revealing any of the state secrets and all the rest of that. So we have a CEO, and his name within the Joomla company that's been set up, of course, is CEO, and he has a corresponding email address of cfdemo_CEO. Okay, in my mail system. There's a user called cfdemo, and the job of cfdemo is to be the application owner. There are 3 more users, management level users, finance, sales, and HR, and each of those has staff. Finance has a staff member called Fred. Sales has staff members called Sarah and Sam. S equals sales. HR has a staff member called Helen, but HR also manages the payroll administrator, okay, which is a specific role within the application. That's the basic business rules for the app. Okay, and if you want to, don't bother reading it. Okay, if you want to download the presentation, you can read what the application does. It's probably simpler to see it in action. That's the basic process. Okay, that's how the application works. Those are the rules that they wanted. But there are more rules, more conditions that apply to this. Okay, yeah. Various different types of leave have different requirements. Okay, there are different rules for approving the leave, for processing it through the workflow. There's a special rule about notification. Okay, and this company uniquely in one area of its business, it has casuals and contractors working for it, and for various reasons they don't want to give those casuals and contractors email addresses in their system. So that meant that managers within the company had to be able to apply for leave for these contractors and casuals, okay, without using their email addresses and without communicating with them with email. Okay, so a manager can apply for leave on behalf of somebody else, somebody who is not on the system, but the system actually had to cope with that condition. So you'll see that there's a little twist on it that does that. Okay, we'll go for a wander. Oh, back we go. That's a use case for the system, which describes in very simple terms what the process is, the whole business process. The applicant applies for leave. When he applies for leave, mail notification is sent to the payroll administrator and the approving manager for that employee. Okay? The mail that goes to the payroll administrator says, I'm just letting you know that somebody has applied for leave. There's a new application in the system. Okay? This is going to go through the process. And it also says, check the leave balance for this employee. Check that he's got enough annual leave available, enough sick leave available, enough long service leave available, okay, to be able to go on this leave. The mail goes to the approving manager that says one of your staff members has applied for leave. These are the dates. Okay, this is when you can expect this person to not be at work. The next, and also an acknowledgement goes back to the actual leave applicant if in fact he's got an email address. Okay, because he might not be on the system. If he's not on the system, then his manager is expected to communicate with him or her directly, expected to actually talk to them. Okay, so next thing, the payroll administrator checks the leave balance. Is there enough days owing? Okay, and takes a simple action to say yes or no, there's enough days owing. And that sends email to the approving manager that says, we've checked the leave balance, would you now approve or refuse the leave application for this employee? Whether or not there's enough leave available, because on occasion, you know, if you've got somebody who needs sick leave because they've got a sick relative, but they've run out of leave this year because, you know, they've been sick for a long time, sometimes you just let them go into credit. Okay? So the approving manager gets mail from the check balance step and it says, okay, this is the decision about the leave days available. Would you please approve or refuse this leave application? And that person then goes back to another action, another set of views and forms in the system, approves or refuses the application, and the results of that decision get sent directly to the applicant, if he has an email address, if he's on the system, okay, and copied back to the payroll administrator. And in one particular case, for long service leave, there's also a blind copy to the CEO, because the CEO wants to know about any long service leave that is taken by employees. Okay? Here's a whole bunch of twaddle about data modelling. This is the data model for the whole system. Up in the top right, you see a table called leave application. okay? And it's got a bunch of fields on it. The first 5 of those fields, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 6 of those fields are standard for every Chronoforms table. They provide controls, they provide access to this data. Okay? The rest of those things are custom for the application, and they handle the state of leave applications and all the characteristics, okay, of what the leave application's about. Down the bottom right, you see the standard Joomla users table, okay, and there are references from that table back to the leave application, like, for instance, who's the user who applied, who is the approving manager. On the top left and bottom left, you see the 2 tables that drive all the conditions, okay, and all of the terminology, all of the concepts that actually drive the system, that drive the leave application. Okay, and this is the creative stuff. Okay, this is the stuff that took the brain power and the analysis. It took me a month to come up with this. Okay, the top one is about definitions, which is a set of terms that are defined for the use of the system, that are defined for appearance on forms. And the bottom one, called leave rules, allows you to set up compound rules that define such things as who is the approving manager for this employee. Okay, what kind of leave does he approve? Okay, what is the form title for this? Okay, who is the payroll administrator and stuff like that. So it's a very simple database, but there's a lot of conditions laid over the top of it, so the application itself is not so simple. Okay, so now we go to the demonstration. It lives on this website. To begin with, if I log on as, say, Sam, or better still Sarah, because Sarah doesn't have any applications in the system, all passwords are password. And you will see here a reproduction of the org chart for the sample company, and here's all the details that you would need to sign on to the system and to actually function as one of these employees, together with the passwords. Okay, so it's all there for you if you want to have a play with it. Okay, it's been waiting too long. Hang on. Okay, Sarah's logged in, and as soon as she logged in, the HR leave application appeared, or the HR leave menu appeared. Okay, this menu has only one item on it that she has access to, that is apply for leave. That is not true for everybody in the system. Some people, one person is a payroll administrator, and a couple of people can administer the leave system. Some people are leave approvers, okay? They get different options, as you'll see. But when Sarah goes to the main page of the HR leave section, she sees this, which is that list of rules, list of business process rules that you saw in the demonstration. So she can read how it works and how she's supposed to use it. But we already know that, so we're just going to apply for leave. Okay, Sarah's on the system, so this is the first step for her. Okay, when I say Sarah's on the system knows her email address and knows who she is because she's logged in. Okay, what does she want? She wants annual leave. And here's the form which allows her to enter annual leave. Okay. To begin with, she has to select a thing called a leave option, which is how the leave is paid. She wants it paid weekly. She can make a comment. Okay, she wants a day off to see her sister who's sick. Okay, let's say she wants it next Monday. All of this stuff is standard with Chronoforms. These tricky little things. The asterisks beside the field mean that the field is required. And let's just take one of those away so that we can see what happens. Okay? If we don't enter a value, or if a value doesn't meet the validation criteria that we've set on the form, then you get this little jQuery thing with a little message in it. Working days off must be at least 1 day. And when I provide that, okay. Thank you for your leave application. A confirmation message has been sent to your email address. So what has been sent? We've got this piece of mail. All mail goes to me. Okay, it's all forwarded to me, even though all the email addresses are different. So we can see what's going on in my mailbox. This one went to CF Demo Sarah, in other words, back to the employee, and it says, thanks for submitting your annual leave application. Okay, your name, your email address, what your leave option was. She wants to be, normal weekly paid. Okay, that's her reason, or the comment that she typed in, if any, the dates, the number of days, okay, days off, and a little signature. What else got sent? This one went to payroll. Please check the leave balance for this new annual leave application. And this one went to sales. Sales, the sales manager, is the guy to whom Sarah reports. So he has to approve the leave. Okay? Following a check of the leave balance, you will receive a leave approval request in due course. Is this all making sense? You're all okay now?
Why doesn't it automatically check the balance?
They didn't have that requirement. It's a short answer. Okay? The payroll administrator for the actual company preferred to maintain the leave balances in her own systems, which basically means spreadsheets. Okay? She wanted to look after that. She was comfortable with that. It would have been straightforward to maintain the balances within the system and even to do annual updates and credits. Okay? And to provide the reporting for that. It would have been straightforward to do it. They just didn't want it. Okay. So that's the end of the process for Sarah. Well, not the end of the process, but that's all she has to do. Okay? The next person who has to respond to this is the payroll administrator. Okay, that's better. Payroll and password. Is somebody running this at the moment?
No,
Okay.
it's just terribly slowing this room all the time.
Really? Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to put up with it.
Oh, whoever. It should be faster.
I'm on wireless.
Yeah, sorry, so what Brad Wayne is just suggesting is do that and do something.
Those things are just aesthetic. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's cloudy, so it affects the days here seem to affect the satellite dish.
Okay. All right, payroll got logged in, we just didn't get a response. Okay. Now, payroll goes to her version of the leave system, and all of a sudden there's all this other stuff, and here too. This is a Joomla 3 site, okay? By the way, I should say that the version of the Chronoforms products that I'm using were sent to me by Max, the developer, 4 days ago. Okay, so this is updated, this is the newest stuff. He hasn't actually published these versions of his products, but in a few days that'll happen. Okay, payroll can also apply for leave, okay? And here, payroll can see leave approvals because she may be an approver for somebody, okay? Can see the leave schedules, and that's a report that shows which people are going on leave, which people have been approved to go on leave for which periods in which departments. Okay, so people can actually plan for absences. Payroll can check leave balances, which is what she's been asked to do, or he's been asked to do. Okay, and here we see a list. There's a bunch of people waiting for approvals. Fred, okay, has applied for annual leave, and we can see that the balance decision is pending. Okay. Clark Kent's also applied for leave. Now, he's not an employee, so somebody applied for leave on his behalf. Here's Sarah down the bottom, okay, and she's the one who's applied for leave. When is it? I think, yeah, I don't know which one it is, doesn't matter. Okay. Okay. Okay, she applied for weekly. That'd be this one. Okay, that's it. Sick sister. All right, she wants 1 day off. Payroll checks her leave balance and says, yes, she's got enough days. End of story. Okay, so that leave application's disappeared from the check balance list. But something's happened over here. Okay. And I might not have that yet. There it is. This message has gone to the sales manager. It says, please review and approve or refuse this annual leave application. There's a link back to the system there. Okay. The decision's been made, sufficient days. Okay, so the next thing that happens is that the sales manager should do his bit whenever the system lets him. Okay, I'm just not getting responses. So the sales manager would log in at some point in response to that email. Should I turn off the wireless connection, Patrick? Okay. Sorry? I'll have to live with the wireless, I guess.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, this is a drag. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get any joy. Okay. Okay, sales is logged in, can now go to the HR leave menu and gets another set of options because sales manager is a leave approver. Okay, so here's the leave approvals. Okay, and the sales manager has one leave application to approve. Okay, which has sufficient days, so the check balance decision has been done. And what do we want? Approval or refuse? Let's say we decide that you're not allowed to go on leave on that day because there's a campaign launcher or something or other. Sorry?
It's harsh.
It is harsh, isn't it? Okay, but there is a business rule. If the leave application is refused, then a reason must be provided. Okay? Well, all right, we'll give in. You know, we just had our first cup of coffee for the day, so let's let her go and leave. So now there are no HR, no leave applications waiting for the sales manager's approval. So here is a chrono view, which now shows us that Sarah is going on leave. Okay, together with showing us all the other people who are going on leave in the other departments. Right, I've got around about a quarter of an hour left. Okay, so now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the system and show you how all this stuff happens. Okay, but you have now seen the three roles in the system: the employee, the payroll administrator, and the approving manager. Okay, so now I'll...
Quick question while you're on that screen.
Yes?
Index date on the top, so you can see all the people that are on leave from that day.
Let me go back in there. Okay. Say again?
On the, say the date's wrong.
Yep.
Then you sort that in.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Okay, upwards or downwards, and that's because I allowed for that column to be sortable in the chronoconnectivity definition. All the ones that actually have the links across the top here, okay, I've allowed for them to be dynamic sorts. All right, so we can also see, if we care about it, what types of leave have been requested. Now, these are leave applications that have been approved by somebody, by an approving manager. So we see all of those. So the CEO can see basically everybody who's going on leave within a... Yeah.
Was related to that too. Is the option in your criteria to also be able to filter by search word or something like that?
Yes, you can put a search box up the top. Okay, and the scope of that search box can be whatever fields you specify. Okay, so, and I have that elsewhere. Okay, now the payroll administrator is in charge of this system because her function, okay, staff leave is her function, his function, I don't know. Please, it's interchangeable, okay? No offence intended. So the payroll administrator sees all the applications in the system, okay, and has got this function available, which update leave applications. Now this allows the payroll administrator to update or delete any existing leave application in the system, whether it's approved or not, whatever state it's in. Okay, because things happen, you know. People type in the wrong name because the system allows managers to apply for leave on behalf of people who aren't in the system. Okay, so in principle there's nothing to stop somebody applying for leave for Donald Duck, okay, or Barack Obama, or anybody. So, and they sometimes apply for leave in the wrong periods, and they need to change that. Okay, the payroll administrator has that ability. For instance, Bruce Wayne applied for sick leave. Okay, now Bruce Wayne's not on the system. You also see, that these fields at certain stages in the process they're disabled, they're read only. Okay, and they're deliberately made so because you work your way through the process and some options become available and other options at earlier stages. You want to hide, okay? You don't want certain things changed because some decisions have been made based on that, okay? This is stuff that happens during application development. Okay, Bruce applied for leave and he sick with certificate. Okay, but there were other options. Sick without certificate, he could have applied for unpaid sick leave. Okay, that was his issue. He wanted 3 days off. Here's a doctor's certificate, okay, which the payroll administrator can upload on behalf of Bruce, okay, at a later date. Bruce doesn't have to upload his doctor's certificate when he applies for leave. Okay, he can come back 3 days later after those bullet wounds have been sewn up, all right, and he can hand in his sick certificate and the payroll administrator or even his manager can upload it on his behalf. That was the decision about leave balance, and this was the decision of his manager, okay, and that's just bad luck, Bruce, you can't do that, okay. So we have a little button sticking out here off the side where we can delete that application if we feel like it. We can make any other changes that we want. However, even the payroll administrator can't arbitrarily approve leave. And that's not expected. Okay? There's a rule in the system that says only the approving manager or the managing director can approve leave. Okay? Payroll administrator hasn't been given that authority. So, again, that was an option, okay? But again, they had a requirement about it, okay? And I could lock it on this screen, but the system would allow for the payroll administrator to be given authority to approve the leave for certain employees, in which case she is the approver for those applications and needs access to the field. Okay. So we can change anything on that form, or the payroll administrator can. Now these are the bits of the system that drive it. Okay, and really the data modelling effort was directed towards figuring out a set of conditions and a set of rules that could be put behind this thing to drive all the various conditions and to represent the business requirements and rules. To begin with, these are things called process actions. These are the actual steps in the system: apply, check, balance and approve leave. Now the architecture would allow you to add in another step, not just the 3 that are in the business process. You could define it dynamically. It wouldn't necessarily work on the forms, but the framework would be there for you to build another set of forms that implemented another step in the process. These are the types of leave that we have. Okay? These are the types of applicants that we have, self or employee, but we could add a third type if we wanted. Okay, we could add another type for contractor if we wanted to define different rules for contractors or casuals. Okay, those kinds of, and you can make those statements within the architecture of this system. Okay, and then you can make the forms respond to those conditions appropriately. You can make those business rules work. Here are the options for annual leave. Annual paid weekly, without pay, paid in advance. Now you saw those come up in those drop-down lists. Okay? Here are the options for sick leave. Okay, so if the boss decided in a year's time or a year and a half, for instance, that he was no longer going to allow sick leave without a certificate, we just take it out of this list and it's gone. Okay, all of a sudden, nobody can apply for that. Here are the options for long service leave. These things, these elements called immediate family, when you apply for bereavement leave, the business rule says that you have to specify a specific relationship to the deceased before you're allowed to have bereavement leave. So that's another element of bereavement leave application, and the options are driven from there. All of the relationships considered to apply to immediate family. Bereavement options. Okay, now for bereavement leave, there's no specific bereavement leave balance. You've got to get that leave from somewhere else. You've got to sacrifice leave from, say, annual leave or sick leave, okay, or take it unpaid. Okay? And, you know, they make a specific allowance for bereavement leave. I think it was 2 days a year that they wanted to allow. But after that 2 days a year, that was it. You had to take the leave from somewhere else. And we have, for the purposes of the rules, okay, we represent all types of leave. We represent a rule that, you know, is always followed for all types of leave, okay, no matter what that is. Okay, a rule that applies to all applicant types, whether they're, you know, people who are registered on the system or they're people who are not. Okay. That's it for the leave definitions. Here's the leave rules. First, there's a set of rules that specify the dynamic title for the forms in the system. Now, yeah, we saw those, the leave application form come up, the check balance form come up, the leave approval form come up. Okay, so you can customise those titles. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I've allowed for the content to actually be HTML. So this stuff here, this is actually rendered by Chronoforms and displayed on the form. So I can customise those headings. Here's the rules about approvals. This rule says for leave approvers, and here are all the things, all the rules that we have in the system. Okay, form heading titles and leave approvers. That's all that were needed in the end. For which action? A leave application, check leave balance or approve leave application. Okay, for what types of leave? A particular user named Fred, and this is that's dynamic, that comes out of the user table in Joomla. Who's the leave approver? In other words, who's the manager? So this says, okay, for all types of leave that Fred applies for, finance does the approving for that. Does the approving for him, I should say. Okay, the CEO approves all leave for himself. Okay, but if we wanted, you know, and there were times during the development of the application when they could have, in fact, they did change the requirements on a wholesale basis 4 separate times during the development. So there's a reason why I built in this flexibility, because basically I didn't know who to trust anymore. Okay, so at one stage the CEO was going to approve all long service leave. This system would allow that to happen. I would only have to say, okay, the approver for long service leave is the CEO for all employees. I could say that, and then that would happen. Okay? And there, I've built in some hierarchies for this thing so that that would override any more general rules that applied to that approval. Okay. So those are the leave approvers. Here are the rules for checking the balance. In all cases, payroll checks the leave balance for all types of leave. But it could be different. Okay? That payroll job might be delegated to somebody else. You might, for instance, want a payroll administrator in each state. So within the architecture of the system, you could set it up. You could say that, that the approver for all forms of leave for all employees in New South Wales was the payroll administrator in that state. You could say that and then it would happen. Okay. That's the front end. Hands up if you want to see some of the back end stuff. You probably do. Okay, we'll try and get that to happen. I'm doing better on the network. On this machine.
I think when you said it was very much specific to coders, I think we're all very keen to see how much coding is involved or how much WYSIWYG type setups involved.
By all means. Okay. Okay, now I have to first make sure that my security doesn't get in the way. That's woeful. Okay. At last. I'm not exactly sure what version of IE I'm running here. That could be a problem.
You probably running 8.
Well, it should be all right then. Okay, Chronoforms, Forms Manager. Okay, the forms are organised into applications. Okay, you just give them a name when you create a form and then you can select for that application name. So these are all the apps. I'll just show you how the leave application process works. Okay, the form that starts the process is called Leave Application Master. And this is one of those forms that does not have a UI. This is something that runs invisibly. It only has one job, to decide, okay, whether or not the person who's running it is a manager or not. That's done with normal user groups, normal view access levels. Okay, this action is an authenticator action, and it simply decides if the current user belongs to the approvers group, yes or no. Okay, you got other stuff you can say about that. Okay, that there are groups that are specifically denied, or you can frame the rule in such a way that you care about who's denied and you don't care about anybody else. And the authenticator action is a container form of action. So you can stick stuff inside it, you can drag stuff inside it, like so, for instance. I might take a form styling action and just drag it onto the palette. Okay? And then it executes at that point in the process for that particular event. Okay? And I configure it to do what I want at that point. Okay? I'll take it away. I might want the form processing to stop entirely at a particular point. So I drag this into that branch of that container. Okay? And the showstopper just basically says, no more, stop now. Okay?
On the section where you add your email function.
Yes, I will. Okay. If the current user belongs to the approvers group, then we show a form called Leave Approver options. Those are the leave options that leave approvers get. Okay? But if we don't happen to be in the Leave Approvers group, then we show the Leave Applicant options. Okay. Going to give me trouble. Hang on, I'll get there. Okay. Now, the Leave Approver options is that set of little 4 radio buttons. Sorry, the Leave Applicant options. The 4 radio buttons, annual leave, sick leave, long service and so forth. The Leave Approver options also says, you are a manager, who are you applying for, yourself or somebody else? Okay. So, if we're applying for ourselves, this will only take a couple of minutes and then we'll be done. This form has a UI. All of these elements have been dragged onto this workspace from this palette over here. Okay? This first thing is initialise. This is custom code. Okay? It figures out the form title by going to the leave rules, okay? Putting together a composite key, okay, which then gets the form title and then returns it so that it can be displayed. Okay, there's some other stuff that gets figured out here. If not approver, we're going to hide some fields. Now, the email action that you were after. Okay, I'm using Bob Jane's, who calls himself Greyhead, GH is Greyhead. I'm using his custom versions of their actions, of these actions. There are standard ones that come with the Chronoforms product, but these ones are easier to use in this context. Is it enabled or not? In other words, if I want to turn off this email, you just tick this box and save the form, and that's that. What? Sorry?
The other groups moved out.
Yeah.
So if you want the good food,
I'll be 30 seconds. Okay? What condition does it apply? Set up the email, who's it sent to. This curly brackets thing stands in for the name of the email user as found on the form itself. And there's a hidden field that provides that. Okay? Your leave type leave application, the curly bracket substitutes the leave type value from the form. Sent to a fixed address, but reply to somebody else. And the template. Okay, here's a bunch of PHP code that figures out values to be sent in the email template. Here is the actual text. Includes some curly brackets expressions. Okay, but also includes some straight out PHP from calculations that occur in this box. Okay? And there's some more PHP. There's stuff that we show only for sick leave certificates, like, was that certificate uploaded? And if so, we maybe provide a link to it. If it was bereavement leave, then what was the family relationship? Those things show up on the email dynamically. All right? There's heaps more, but you can download the sample files if you like and you can look at them. You have to do some customisation if you want to run it on your local site, but that's all in a README file. Now, if you want those samples, you'll find on the front page of the site there's an instruction to log on as CF Demo, the application owner. You will then see that there is a new menu item called Presentations. Presentations will show you a page that lets you download the sample code for yourself. Or else you can send me a message and I'll mail it to you, whatever's easiest. Thank you for your patience.